Hello everyone, this is Dan from US MX Football here. Today we'll be previewing Inter Milan vs Paris Saint Germain for the UEFA Champions League. So before we get into it, I just want to say a quick thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel, watching it. We got our first subscriber, which means so much to me. Thank you. It's going to be a big milestone, first step forward in a long path. So thank you very much for all the support on the channel. It's been really positive, so thank you. Now let's get into the big game. So the final is set to take place in Munich, Germany at the Allianz Arena. And there has been a lot of build-up to this game, obviously. Big final. With both teams having difficult roads to the final. Looking at Inter first, they finished 4th in the league phase of the competition, later going on to knock out Feyenoord, Bayern Munich, the host city, and Barcelona along the way. Looking over to Paris, they finished notoriously low in the group stage, only finishing 15th. However, the turn of the year in 2025, they really came into form. Aided by big signings like Kvaratskhelia in January, they've come just as one of the teams to beat since the turn of the new year. They beat Brest 10-0 over 2 games, later narrowly beating Liverpool, and then having a 5-4 thriller with Aston Villa in the quarterfinals, followed by a comfortable beating to Arsenal in the semis to get here to this final. Jumping over to the lineups, Inter should be with their strongest 11. Lautaro Martinez was in doubt in their previous run of fixtures for Inter, but he should be available. However, whether that be for the entire 90, that is a different question. We do know he's been pushing through some niggling injuries per multiple reports, which is why he was out earlier in the month. However, I think we can expect him to do at least a good half, 45 minutes. But then I wouldn't be surprised if we see Mehdi Taremi come on for him. But it is important to note that Inter have clocked many more miles on their players, so to speak, with PSG having rested their starting 11 for much more longer portions of the season. So I think that's important to keep in mind, as there was a part of the year where Inter quite literally had to choose Serie A or Champions League. So hopefully their sacrifice paid off. They don't leave the season with nothing. I think we can expect him and Marcus Thuram, though, to lead the front line, being supported by guys like DiMarco and Dumfries, who are as well probably Inter's most dangerous outlets outside of the strikers, out on the wingbacks. And then I expect the familiar core of Henrik Mkhitaryan, Barella, and Hakan Çalhanoğlu to make up their midfield. Finally, in defense, I think we can expect the experience of Acerbi, supported by Bastoni and Besek to his left and right, all in front of the evergreen Jan Sommer in goal. Over at PSG, I think we can expect Donnarumma in net, with Marquinhos and Pacho in defense, followed by Nuno Mendes and Hakimi at fullback. Then in midfield, it's been widely talked about, but we can expect the magical Vitinha paired with João Neves, the engine, and the overall beast that is Fabian Ruiz. Up top, I anticipate Kvaratskhelia and Dembele to start at left wing and striker, with either Doué or Barcola to their right to complete that front three. I anticipate either Doué or Barcola to make a big difference, though, coming off the bench later on in the game to provide some fresh legs, alongside Gonzalo Ramos, who will provide a more conventional number 9 option, who will also be a big threat in the air should PSG choose to whip in some crosses. Finally, I expect Warren Zaïre-Emery to make an appearance to see out the game should PSG take a lead and want to close out the game. He's proven to be a great utility option off the bench, whether that be in midfield or fullback, and if not him, Beraldo for sure, to shore up the things defensively at the back. Looking over at Inter, I think Taremi, like I said, will obviously come on for Lautaro, should he not be able to complete the entire 90. And I think we can expect Davide Fratesi as well. We've seen in the semi-final how big of a difference he can make off the bench in the final third of a big game. And you'll definitely need that kind of experience should you get desperate for a goal. He's not that old, 26, however. He already has experience coming up clutch, so you might want that. And he's going to offer fresh legs compared to guys like Mkhitaryan and Çalhanoğlu. De Vrij would also be a good option in the back to see out the game or to whip in some balls aerially alongside Dumfries and Bissek. I could see him and Darmian as options to come off way sooner over guys like Carlos Augusto or Marko Arnautovic, who I can only see coming on should someone in their positions get injured. I see this game playing out as follows. PSG having a strong dominance hold in the midfield, and their guys like particularly João Neves to just overwhelm Inter's midfield. I expect them to have the slight edge over the 50-50s and second balls, and thus kind of create some space for his teammates and shutting out any counterattacks that might be happening. Just overall being a beast in that midfield. Whereas someone like Barella, I think, is equally as talented in every aspect I just listed. However, I think he just won't be able to compete with someone like João Neves and Vitinha and Fabian Ruiz, alongside having to worry about guys like Hakimi and Nuno Mendes dropping into midfield and creating overlapping runs. It's just going to be a lot of pace and legs to have to worry about and track for 90-plus minutes, on top of all of them being elite technically and can create moments of magic out of nothing. So even if you do have a damn near perfect game, if you're Barella, tracking them for 89 minutes, the one chance they do get might punish you big. So I see that being Inter's biggest defense. That being Inter's biggest weakness. Also, PSG's front line is so dangerous. We see Ousmane Dembele is rumored to be in Ballon d'Or contention, and I think you would have to be a fool not to expect him to have that in the back of his mind, with something to prove on such a big stage. Him and Kvaratskhelia have looked so dangerous not only in transition but on the counterattack. But even in slow build-up, they can just pick you apart technically as well, like we saw against Arsenal for that second goal. You add the chaos and unpredictability of Doué and Barcola, and it's a lot of magic to have to contain for 90 minutes. The last team to shut them out was Liverpool in that 1-0 loss in the first time around, but I think we can all agree Liverpool were remarkably lucky to come away with a clean sheet with that, considering all the big chances PSG created. I think Inter, though, will be devastating from any set-piece play they have. Some of their biggest chances have come through that, and I think that it's gotten them very far to begin with in this competition, so they might want to rely on that. I think guys like Dumfries and Bissek really need to be watched on corners and free kicks because they're so dangerous with goals. Aside from that, I think link-up play between Thuram and Lautaro will be crucial for any big game, for any big chances Inter have. They need to make the perfect decision at every opportunity to have a chance against this PSG team who, although not perfect defensively, have shown to be so tricky to unlock, with Donnarumma, who in big games is just so clutch. Big chances will be at a premium, so Inter will need to be clinical at any chance they get against one of the world's best goalies. So I expect PSG's engine midfield and class up front to be just too much for Inter to handle, and I'm going to predict a 3-1 win for PSG, with goals coming from Ousmane Dembele, Fabian Ruiz, and Gonzalo Ramos, with maybe Lautaro or Dumfries getting on the score sheet for Inter. But I predict it being a very exciting and exhilarating final. Not particularly boring. It might be cagey in the beginning, as most finals are, but I expect this one to be pretty good. So that's going to conclude my preview for the Champions League final. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all for watching. Have a good one. Peace.